Welcome to this very special Franchisee Wisdom podcast where we interview successful franchisees that are doing amazing on their journey and are willing to share with us all of their experience of what they have gone through in that journey so that you can learn from them. So today we have, like I said, a very special guest, and her name is Amanda, but I'm going to let her tell you all about herself. Hi, Amanda. Welcome to today's session in this podcast. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Great. Thank you for agreeing to joining us and sharing all of your experience and knowledge of your journey with the franchising world. I know that people are going to learn a lot from you in this session.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. So let's go ahead and get started and let's find out where were you before franchising or the idea of becoming a franchisee even came about? Like, how do you, before franchising, where were you? Where in the world were you? What were you doing?
Yeah. So before franchising, I was in the sport and recreation industries. So I started a couple businesses, made them successful from 2007, and I got out of those in 2018. Um,
What type of businesses were there? Like when you say businesses, what were you doing? What were the businesses?
Yeah, so I did youth basketball. I did a college scouting service for women's basketball, just things I really were passionate about. So I can make anything successful as long as I have a passion for it, right? So I got into those. I also helped one of my friends open up a $15 million sport and recreation facility in Michigan, which was a really cool experience. And so I actually had a lot of takeaways from that too for when I got in franchising because I was involved with the construction side, the fitness center portion, in addition to the sports areas in the facility. So that was a really good experience as well. And then before that, did some college basketball coaching and um, did strength and conditioning and was an intramural director at the
So the
college.
whole world, so your life has always been around fitness and sports and that type of thing. So you're definitely passionate about all of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I gravitated towards all that. I think maybe when I was in fifth or sixth grade, and it's kind of always stuck, with me. And and that's probably because those areas have always made me feel good, right? Fitness is something that can positively affect you personally. And then with sports, I mean, there's a fitness component with that too, right? You're training, prepping, practicing, to be the best you can be. So all those things are really, areas that I've had my almost my entire life, and they've also built a lot of my characteristics and personality too. So
You
yeah.
know, way back when I was a kid, I was very much into sports, but I just dropped the ball. Once I got into college, that was it. I have not done much into sports at all. It's really something that I really, especially now at my older age, I maybe should get into it so that I can have, quality of life, right? But I used to love it a lot. So, speaking of sports, what made you think of getting into franchising? Because of course you were entrepreneur, you were doing your own business. You clearly are able to create that business and, you had some sort of level of success. What made you think about franchising in the first place? What came to mind when you said, you know what, franchising might be a way to go for me? So what happened to make you think about that?
Well, if you ask some of my friends and people that, know me, they said way back when, I always said I was going to own gyms. I don't remember that, but people tell me that. So that's one thing. Number two, I was working out in a big box club in 2000, I think it was 2008, and I kept getting harassed and stuff by the manager, and they just had some really odd rules, and I was never really comfortable using a big gym, right? It's just not me. So that was just a bad experience I had. And so I remember Googling on my phone, like, where else can I go work out, right? As a consumer, where can I go work out? There was like a community gym. I tried that and it just was, too much for me socially. It was more of a social thing right there. So I Googled again and then an Anytime Fitness ad popped up about franchising. So they were using social media way back when before others to target those that were interested in fitness. So I remember looking at that. I got on the page for franchising and I'm like, okay, well, I got to start saving, right? So I just started saving. Um, and then by 2014, I was a little nervous to do it because it's a big investment. And then I just moved forward with my first location in 2014 while doing all the other things I was doing as well. So I was, you know, a little spread out between industries, but I did it and I enjoyed it.
So, did you become a member of an Anytime Fitness first, or did you just go from saving money, doing this other work, into jumping into franchising right off the bat?
Yeah, I just jumped in. I wasn't a member before. There was a location about 25 minutes from where I lived at the time. I did go check that out before I got into the brand. Um, yeah, I mean, if there would have been a club closer, I probably would have joined.
That
So.
that makes sense. So you found out about the information. You said, okay, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. So let me start saving money. You already had the brand in mind. You had already made that decision. You
Yeah.
are going to invest in Anytime Fitness, and you just have to save the money to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, I liked what the brand was about. Again, going back to like my personal preferences, right? I like to be in smaller settings, so I like to work out in smaller settings. How many people want to be in a large box gym and just, there's tons of people staring and all that. You don't really have your own workout space. So
Mm.
from that aspect, Anytime Fitness is the global leader in that area with locations everywhere. So it made sense for me personally, and I'm like, okay, there's that personal connection. It's something I can feel passionate about, fitness, plus that boutique, smaller business model, right? It's not huge, it's not overwhelming.
Well, that's amazing. I love that. I love that idea that you just targeted and said, okay, you have money. How much money did you save before, that before you actually contacted them to start the process? How much money did you save before that?
I think I saved around 300,000 to get started on my first one. And then I took out maybe around 150 to 200,000 for equipment. And
Okay, so
then
you save a significant amount, more than is usually expected then, right? I assume.
yeah, I mean my first location I didn't carry like all that debt that a lot of people do. I had a really good lease and build out deal I set up from the get-go, which helped. So I didn't, I could pay that location off quicker and stuff. And I've already put like new equipment and everything in there. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's amazing. So, okay, so you saved $300,000, and then did you call them? Did you apply online? How did you get the process going?
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I filled out one of the online inquiry forms and then they got in touch via email and phone and just went through the process. You get the federal disclosure document. You got to read that, go through that, and then you kind of go through the steps of purchasing a franchise and they onboard you to the brand and so on. So um, somewhat of a lengthy process. I think I did that maybe in January of 2014, had my lease and my build out was starting in summer of 2014 and I opened by late October 2014. So that was my first location. So my time frame was a little slow because I was scared. That's a
I
lot of
mean, you were
money.
new, right? It was the first time around. You never done it
Yeah.
before, and you got to figure things out, how to work with the franchisor, and how do you read the FDD, franchise disclosure document, and how do you find a location? Did you know about lease agreements and signing those from prior businesses, or this was the first time that you had like a brick and mortar of your own?
Yeah, so anything I did previously was just like a rental for a short period of time, right? For events and such. So this was a little different. I was nervous about doing a lease because I didn't have that experience. I did get some support from the franchisor with that first lease. But the location, I just kind of like, it's one of those things you just always would drive by this building, and it was in my hometown. So that was also why I selected it because my first goal was I want to put a gym here, so I can make the community, do something good for the community. Um,
Also, you picked
there's,
the community, so you knew where you wanted to be. Is that a community near you? Is that why you picked that one?
yeah, it was my hometown, Michigan Center, Michigan. So that's why. Um, I mean, I'm passionate, obviously, where I'm from, and I know a lot of people, and so if you can better and make a different opportunity in a community where people can use it to have, whether it's a success story, physically, mentally, emotionally, or even socially, meeting other people, that's going to be a positive way to enhance the community, right? And maybe even attract some other business types to the area.
I love that you wanted to impact your own community. Yeah, no, for sure. And so you picked that one. Do you still have that location, by the way?
Yeah, yeah,
That's still your look?
that one gets all the goodies, all the extras. It actually just got its full renovation this spring, adding a couple saunas, adding a recovery room coming up with like the Normatec recovery and compression boots, hot cold therapy in there, vibration and heat therapy for the back. So we're adding in a few different things coming up there. So yeah, the
Yeah,
renovation looks good.
yes, in learning from you about the brand and the innovation that they are implementing, because I believe that brand for a while was just the same, but I don't know, or maybe I just didn't understand or didn't realize it, but it seems to be through my experience of knowing you that the brand is really investing a lot of time and effort in innovation, right? And keeping up with the times. So it looks like. I'm sure that's one of the things that I'm sure you like about the brand, right?
Yeah, yeah. Very innovative brand on the technology side. Things are always moving and evolving. Sometimes it can be a little tiring, right? Because we're always doing something and changing. In 2014, when I first started, it was, 24/7 convenience type model. So way back when Anytime Fitness started as a franchise, they were the first to come out with the 24/7 convenient gym model. So they did just that concept for a very long time. And then I want to say 2015 is when the shift started happening where we were going to more of a holistic health coaching, climbing that mountain to get there. So it's taken a while. I mean, there's over 5,000 locations globally, so it's going to take a while to do that shift, do the renovations, get all the additional services put in to really get that holistic, feel that we want in every location.
Yeah, in all the brands, because as they innovate, it's not just about a one, two store. They have to like spread it across the brand for it to be consistent experience from unit to unit for sure. And no, I love that. So you had one unit. How long did you have one unit before you get to the second one?
In the second one, I believe I added a second one in 2016. That was down in Indiana. That was a neat experience. I learned a lot from that. It was in a different demographic, so it was a very high income area. So a lot of people had gym equipment and stuff at home. There's a lot of other concepts and stuff. I did that for a while, and then I added a third location in 2017, not too far from my first location. And it was at that point I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to put these in pods and make them a little bit closer, for management purposes and scaling.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you why Indiana? And do you have still that one, the one in Indiana? You still have that, and why all the way to Indiana?
Well, that one was for sale. I didn't really have at the time, I didn't have a plan for scaling and I didn't, understand like the pros and cons, So now I just really want to make Michigan dense and, have my locations and pods. So managers have a team to work with, right? Assistant managers have a team to work with. They can also trade shifts. There's a lot of resource sharing. Um,
A lot of synergies when you go multi-unit for sure in the same brand, especially in the same brand, especially. So before we continue in your multi-unit journey, let's stop for a second and let's go back and think, you got the first unit that first year, so you did not open the second one until year two, right? So you had a couple of years under your belt, a year and a half, a couple of
Here.
years before you actually explore or journey into the second one, which was in, far away. Um, what are the big surprises that you have? What are the things that you learned that you did not know that you didn't know about franchising? Anything that surprised you, or good, bad, of from that first year or two experiences in the franchise industry? I would like to hear about that.
Yeah, surprises. I guess it was kind of everything I expected with one unit, right? I'm trying to think if there was anything in particular. Probably going to the Anytime Fitness conference. That was pretty interesting going to my first one. I didn't know the brand culture was that awesome. That was surprising, and it just made me feel like, oh, okay, this was definitely was a great decision. Um, just the people with the brand, everyone who works with the brand,
Okay,
from
so
the
how interesting it is. Okay, so you were happy with your decision. You were a franchisee. You had a unit. You were good. You were happy. And then you go to the first conference and the culture that you experience, which you hadn't even thought about, I assume. Like this is not something that you had thought about before. You now go into this conference with a lot of fellow, anytime business franchisees, and the culture that you experience make you happy with the choice you made. This just says how much culture is so important, isn't it?
yeah, it is very important. I mean, that was just kind of confirmation like, yeah, I do belong here, and I met people that we have similar, interests and everything. And then it's just a fun group. I mean, a fun group fitness. Everyone's running around in purple. Some people are in tutus at this conference. I mean, it is interesting. So it's a good time. So that was a surprise. Going in out, you go to a conference, you think it's going to be boring and everything. It is not. It's very interesting.
That is awesome. And one of the things that I learned again through you is this special benefit, culture thing that you guys have, that if someone, is it an employee, gets themselves a Running Man tattoo? Like, tell me a little bit about that. I'm sure many
Yeah.
people in the audience will not know anything about that.
Yeah, so I've never had a tattoo in my life, so I have one now. But our franchisor, Anytime Fitness, they you can get tattoos. So if you include the Anytime logo or the Running Man logo, you can get tattooed at conference. So I'll tell you about my tattoo in a second, but I believe we're the largest brand on the planet that has tattoos for their brand. There's a tattoo booth at the corporate headquarters. And then we're also allowed to do events in club with our members, and corporate will pay up to $500 per day for members to get tattoos.
Wow, I mean, that for me is crazy, especially when they are brands that part of the standards is like no visible tattoos, right? Like here you have the opposite. So you have no visible tattoo standards, and here you are, franchisor, encouraging, tattoos. And that's like not only is a culture thing, but it's a branding thing, right? I mean, obviously. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean we've had numerous employees get tattoos. I have one. I got one in 2017. I put the things on my tattoo that, you know, I guess I was pretty passionate about. I The first thing I put a basketball on there. I put my jersey numbers in there. I have my pet's paw prints, built in, and in the middle I have the Running Man tattoo. So
All right, love it. Okay, so now let's go back to your journey. So you are at your second gym is a little bit further away, right? And then you have the third nearby you, and that's the point that you made the decision. Okay, from now on, my growth is going to be closer to me. And now your vision is Michigan, right? Which is, I love it because that's the inspiring vision that you're creating for yourself and your team. So tell me about the fourth unit and the fifth unit, and a little bit about the units and the decisions that you make. Or why did you get that one? Was it because of location, distance? Were they purchases? Were they acquisitions, or were they build outs? And how do you decide which one you're going to get? So let's talk about that journey.
yeah. Um, to back up just a little bit, that second unit was an acquisition down in Indiana. So I ended up selling that one in spring of 2019, which, as we know, that worked out great for me. The sale did, but also we went right into that COVID stuff. So luckily during COVID, I only had two that I had to close down during all that. Um, but back to kind of like I guess the path. So when I was on that second or third club, I still didn't like have a vision of okay, I'll do this all over the state. I didn't have that. I don't think I got that vision until I started with the American Franchise Academy and Aicha you got in my head. So I mean, it might have been something I wanted to do, but did I believe I could do? Probably not.
And I think that's
So,
what makes a little bit of a difference. One of the things that I say that when franchisees go through our program, they now have answers to their questions and brings clarity, and clarity brings confidence. You may have not done all the systems and processes that you know that you need to have, but just having that clarity and the clear path of how to accomplish and implement those gives you the confidence that as you can continue to grow because what you know is enough to help you do that, and because you're going to implement the systems, you're going to get there. And so that clarity gives you the confidence that now you want to conquer the world. It's kind of my perspective on that. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. So 2019, I sold the Indiana one. 2020, COVID hit. So the state of Michigan shut everything down for 6 months. That was probably my biggest challenge as a business owner. Right there, you have businesses, you have all these bills. I mean, I paid every single bill, even though we weren't open. So that was tough. And then dealing with all the rules and that was a situation you weren't going to make, half your customers would be upset, half are happy. So that was an interesting scenario. And really my takeaway out of COVID, because I could survive that, right, was if I can survive that and being shut down for that long and going through all those, the rules and everything, I can probably do some more locations. And if I can do this and be successful and help others at the same time, you know, that gave me confidence as well coming out of 2020. So when we got in 2021, I purchased a location. Someone I knew that was at new franchisee training all the way back in 2014 reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm getting out of the brand. I have some other businesses. So I had an option to add a location December 2021. So that was an acquisition, and it happened to be in a town where one of my longtime employees lived. So it was like a no-brainer. He just relocated.
Oh, that's
And
great. So you had the leader that
yeah.
could then take over that unit, which makes a big difference because if you don't have that, that's a something that you need to overcome, right? And so that another thing, having the leadership bench is another thing that gives you the confidence to move forward in that growth for sure. I think that truly does make a difference when people want to go on the multi-unit journey. But yeah, let me actually also ask you, what things have you now changed? Like what decisions did you do and change what type of things have you done now differently because of what you learned in COVID? Like things that you would not have done otherwise, but what have you changed now because of what you learned about, going through COVID?
Um, I mean, changes from COVID.
Like, for example, do you have a bigger emergency fund? Oh, maybe you didn't have it as much before. Well, you must have because you were able to pay your bills, right? But like things like that, what are you doing differently to not only protect but prepare yourself for a possible other issue?
Um, my takeaway around that, I always do the emergency fund thing because I'm a worrywart, right? So that's always gonna be me. Um, Lasting takeaway from COVID is um, probably like some of our cleaning checklists. We did make more detailed from COVID down to the detail, and then we implemented hospital grade disinfectant at all my locations, as opposed to just the disinfectant wipes. So we upped that game, and we've been really consistent with that across the board. So more so just an operation, operations as far as checklists and maybe a different type of product
Hmm.
that we've
Okay. Okay.
kept and brought forward with us. Everything else I try to forget from that time frame.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sure a lot of business owners want to forget. I remember that myself, obviously, as a business owner, because I was operating at the time. And, our focus went from trying to sell more to just help the clients that we had overcome this thing, right? And so we changed completely our model, like many other people changed. And so, yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's continue on your journey. So now you have 4 units, and then what happened?
Yep. So three units. So I added the Belleville one because I'd already got rid of Indiana before COVID.
Oh,
I had
that's
things.
right.
Yep.
You closed it. You sold it. And did you sell it or
Yeah,
did you just close it?
I sold it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There was an interested party for a good year and a half that wanted it, and I, couldn't have been a better scenario. So a good exit on that one, and then so I picked up the Belleville one. After that, I got another phone call. Someone wanted out. The next one was a turnaround club in Canton, Michigan, which that one's renovation actually starts next week. So I'm excited. We're doing a full renovation at that. We already put all brand new equipment in it. We're going to be adding in the new services over there too, physical therapy, nutrition, recovery. So that one's going to be, a really nice setup with this renovation coming. It was a beautiful club before the renovation. So excited to get that going. That one, turned it around. I think that one when I got it, it was losing $78,000 a year.
Wow.
Um,
Okay. So it was definitely a turnaround. Hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And those interest me because I like those challenges. And what I do, I look for locations that meet my skill set where I know I can turn it around. Now, can I turn it around without being there every single day? Will my operations and leadership skills, you know, motivate and inspire, the team to do the things we need to do to get those things, to get locations turned around? If it does, then I consider it a fit. If it's a scenario where it's so bad where we're gonna have to be there every single day in addition to the normal team, that's, having more than, a couple of units, that's next to impossible. So you got to look for scenarios where the skill set and it's reasonable time-wise where it's gonna fit. So that was one I took on, knowing it'd be a longer project and stuff. So I'm on what, 3 years over there. We've turned it around. So last I looked, we were a little over 80,000 a year there. And
Profit.
yeah.
So basically, what you were losing, now you're actually profiting. That's fantastic. Yeah.
So and we have a lot of roadway on that location. I'll be honest, I haven't put a ton of time in that one. But having, good systems and operations in place, with the brand, and making sure those get executed over time moves the needle on that, and you can do those turnarounds. You don't have to do a turnaround overnight. Um,
Right, right, right. As long as you have the capital to sustain it, or the store is not, or the unit is not below break even, you have time to get it there, right? So,
so that location in particular interested me because it wasn't staffed correctly before, so that's an easy fix, right? There was no marketing going on. Can do that. There was no in-house training services. They were contractors working there, so that's another opportunity. The equipment was old. That's another opportunity. And then if with it not being staffed correctly, for the correct hours every week, that's an opportunity, right? To increase your leads, increase your member engagement. So ton of opportunity, top level, that you can get and get action done pretty quick.
yeah, you know what? And because you have so much deep understanding of the brand, like some people are going to be watching, this podcast, and they might think, well, yeah, that makes sense. But like because of you having so much deep understanding on the brand, you're able to see the opportunities. And so if you are someone that you are within your brand, this is the type of things that you really need to get. You need to really master your brand. Like there is things that you need to learn about the staffing and the business model, and about the service process, and the image, and what makes a winning a winning brand, franchise unit, on top of course managing the expenses. But being able to understand all that and what makes a winning unit, it takes a little bit of time. I mean, you're obviously, when you first had the first one, you didn't know what makes a winning unit. You just went in there and jump in, right? And so that made you because you jumped in and you were operating it, and you were able to then learn all these things, and through time you didn't just go quickly, growth at the beginning. You did it slowly, and you were able to learn along the way all these things. So now I assume you can go into any Time Fitness now and say, oh, I can see the opportunity there within 30 minutes. It's like, okay, I know how I can, benefit and turn this one around or make it even better, which is what the experience does, which allows you to then accelerate that growth, right? So when you first joined the academy, you were at six, right? Of the six, how many were uh, open from the bottom up, and how many of them were acquired?
Uh, three of them opened from the bottom up, and three were acquired out of that six.
Okay, so you were 50-50. Okay. And okay, so then let me ask you, why did you join the academy? What were you looking for that when you found us, you said, "Oh, this is something that I needed." What made you think that you needed to have more, I guess, knowledge, which is what we provide, and tools and support, but what made you think about it and actually search it?
Yeah. So, um, I was looking for like that next challenge, right? So one of the things about me, I tend to get bored after a while, and I need to find ways to challenge myself and make things hard for myself, apparently, right? So I had like questions in my mind. I had things I needed just help sorting out, right? For multi-unit franchising. So these are things I was thinking about. I was on a sailing trip um in 2014 down in British Virgin Islands, and these are things I'm like, okay, well, I want to do this. And that was a great time to just reflect, right? Being out on the ocean and in my element because I love it out there. But things come up in my brain like, okay, how can I challenge myself? What can I do still within this brand? And how can I make it fun and still be passionate about it? And then I'm like, okay, well, let's just do this multi-unit franchising. Let me learn a little more about this. And I think it was on I think I was searching keywords, multi-unit franchising, just looking for some information so I could read and learn a little bit more. And I think that's how I came across the American Franchise Academy. And then I went to your master class. That master class, um, just the things you said and the topics we talked about, it just put light bulbs off in my head, right? And the way you think really could communicate really well to me. So I knew right then within like probably 10 minutes that I'm going to do this, you know?
Hmm. That's great. So you went through the master class, you learned about this, and then joined the program. And so what have you gotten out of the program so far? I mean, I know you got a lot of knowledge and tools and force and a lot of information, but what do you think, like how would you summarize kind of what you got so far out of being and experiencing the command program?
Yeah. So in the American Franchise Academy's command program, I've obviously I learned a ton. So I'm in the command program. I also went through the multi-unit leader program, the unit 1.0, and then I'm currently in unit 2.0. But I would say, gosh, I learned a ton where I could better my business systems because I get the brand systems from, the franchisor. I was able to strengthen my business systems in a manner that could better prepare me um, for scaling multi-units within the brand. Um, for example, you have what is it, the 14 multi-unit tenants for franchising successfully. So I better refined my charter, my mission, vision, values. I took things up a step with my dashboard. So we have weekly financial, not just monthly, in addition to the KPI dashboard. I created the salary strategy and career path, which you helped me work on, which is great. Um, Gosh, we did a lot of little things. I mean, just putting action plans in place, has helped a ton too to move the needle.
I
So
think
many
that
things.
having the structure, right? Having the
Oh yeah.
structure in your organization so that you can, because one of the, I mean, a lot of things have changed for you in the year and a half that you've been with us. I mean,
Yep.
you not only have you gone from 6 units to now 14, but also now you have, managers in your locations and you have district managers in I mean, how many of those things have changed? How have they changed your life, on a daily basis?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, lots of changes. A lot of team members got promoted, promoted up that were successful in their other positions. And that is the cool thing I will say with scaling units. When you do have a really, really good team member or manager, I mean, there's places for them to grow into, right? And that's part of that career path and strategy. And what was your other part of the question? Because I already forgot.
No, no. So, okay, during the year and a half that you've been in the program, you went from 6 units to 14. And we're gonna talk about where you're gonna go, but let's just say from 6 to 14 within a year, I think it was, or year and a half.
Less
And
than a year. You don't know, a year on the dot, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, in 1 year, you more than doubled your units. You then selected and defined the district manager position so that you were able to delegate operations. What did that do to the quality of your life, too?
Yeah. So, adding a bigger team and stuff, and I definitely got better on my delegation, which I still have room to improve in that area, definitely, but it gives you freedom back as an owner, some time, and it also allows you to thrive more because you have some additional time where you're able to brainstorm, more no time, more downtime, right? But you're still doing stuff, but you can be more creative. You're looking at more higher level things within the company as opposed
You're
to
being strategic. You're being
correct.
more strategic and planful, which then being able to delegate operations allows you to then consider the growth and the acquisitions and the process. You can focus on that growth, and then if you have a team that you can rely on to be able to manage your day-to-day operations, you can still lead and inspire, but you're able to delegate. But now you can go and continue to think about the future. So let's talk about the future. Where are, you mentioned to me that you have 8 more in the process right now without talking specifics, but 8 more that is that gonna be in the next a year or this year? Like those 8 more that you're looking at, what's the time frame for them?
So the eight are unopened territories. I did purchase like all the unopened territories like in southern Michigan. So up US 127, greater Lansing area, Interstate I-94, going west and east. So I plan on strategically developing those areas. I'm kind of following the path on where the opportunities come up with the best leases and where the economics are strong to put the next one. So I'm leaning towards developing the Greater Lansing area as the next project. So those ones will be new builds. Um, I'll work on that. Probably start working on planning on that a little bit more this fall for next year. Um,
Let me put a tip in here. So if you're watching this and you're in commercial real estate in the Michigan area and you have great locations for Anytime Fitness, please reach out to Amanda at the local Anytime Fitness in Michigan. So that way maybe it can give you a little bit of a help there, Amanda.
yeah, they're ready. They already know me and are reaching out to me.
Oh,
So
well,
that's
they better
great.
yet.
So Um, it is. It's worked out great. It's kind of created a little bit of competitiveness for real estate brokers, right? To get me in a space. So yeah. So I'd like to do some really cool things in the greater Lansing area. I might even dabble in the greater Ann Arbor area, and then I have the territories west, all the way through Interstate 94 that I want to build out. So I do have those. So there's eight that I'll be, doing that with. And then whatever comes up, if something comes up as far as an acquisition that fits the company, I'll look at that too. I mean, I'm running out of options because I've purchased most of them. But
I
there's a
love the
few.
fact that you have that clarity of what you would say yes to and what you would say no to. I mean, that is amazing because then you can make quick decisions and not, drag too many opportunities out and really take advantage of the ones you want and say no to the ones that you know are not in alignment. That's fabulous. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So in a nutshell, like I have the eight unopened territories. Those will be all new builds. And then, based on how I feel is how I plan on moving forward. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm going to have 50 units. I'd like to get up to 30, but also if I feel like something's too much, I might not go that direction. So I'm just kind of taking it project by project, reevaluating things, seeing how things go, and
I love
go from
that. I think that's the best way to go. Just, have it leave flexibility in there so that you can make decisions that bring you joy. And that's the beautiful thing about being a franchisee, an independent business owner, and or independent business owner with the franchise and being multi-unit because, at that point, once you grow, I always say that one unit is a job. One unit is a job. You have to be there all day, every day. most businesses, and if you don't, you won't maximize the profitability. But the moment that you go into the multi-unit, that opens so many opportunities for you if you do it the right way. That's for sure. So, talking about not doing the right way, can you share, what challenges? What are and think of the people that are going to be watching these are people that are maybe just beginning in the journey or thinking about getting into the journey of franchising. Anything that you will give tips for people? Hey, watch for this, watch for that, consider
Yeah.
this, things that you have learned, the wisdom that you have acquired through these years that you would share with people that are starting in the journey. What would you share with them?
One of the really, really helpful things I did way back, gosh, I think I started doing this maybe in 2014. And I do this with a lot of things on the business side. But and this kind of attaches to a question you asked a little bit ago. But something I did differently. I went and looked at a ton of different gyms. I sought out the failing ones and I taught myself what is a failing gym? What is a successful gym? And I looked at the gym, but I looked at the financials, I looked at the locations. So now, when I'm looking at stuff, I can pick that stuff out and I'm tying those KPIs or those financials or things I see to what is success. So in the Anytime Fitness brand, there was a very, very low failure rate when I started. So I really had to find those, but I looked at those opportunities. So it was a way to learn, right? And then you could reverse engineer. How do you fix that opportunity? So as a practice, that's kind of something I started with, and that helped me build my knowledge base on what successful financials should look like versus what they shouldn't. What should a successful lease look like? What does a lease look like? Because I can tell you if you have a bad scenario financially, it's probably because you're in a bad lease.
You actually wanted to see what failure looked like and what success looked like because that gives you the baseline to be able to then be able to really discover what that is in potential opportunities or even your own units. Oh, look, I saw this in the failing one and I'm seeing it in one of mine, so I need to address that. Or I see this in the success ones and I don't have that in my unit, so I want to put that in my unit so that they can be success. I love that. Did you only look within your brand or did you look also outside of the brand?
I just looked within my brand. I mean, I had more tunnel vision on the Anytime Fitness. So in 2014, 15, 16, that's how I was learning. So I kind of I guess I reverse engineered that and put it into my business, right? My learnings from that. And I knew what to stay away from, right? So those are areas like a lot of that, like your franchisor isn't going to teach you on the financial side because they only could go so far with what's in the federal disclosure document.
Mhm.
But that's one way. I looked at resales and I learned, I just taught myself through that. And now, you can pick out, the areas you can use the critical drivers and push those, right? So it all attaches, it's all together in a bundle. So that's a best practice I did. Probably other people don't do it, but that's the way I learned. Other best practices, I would say. Um, between successful franchisees and non-successful. Successful ones, they're working with their franchisor and their franchise business consultant, right? They're picking up the phone, they're meeting with them. Non-successful ones are ignoring those calls. They're not doing those things. They're not using the resources that are provided for them. That's huge. If you're going to get into franchising, you're on the same team, pick up the phone. Okay.
Yeah, there are resources, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
franchisor resources that many franchisees do not maximize either because they're shy or they are, want to be left alone and not really reach out. But there are resources that they are actually paying for through their royalties, and why not use them?
So going back to why did I get in franchising, right? Well, my businesses I started from the beginning were, mom and pop created from scratch. Those are long, 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 long hours, lots of all-nighters, no life, right? You get into franchising, you're on a team. And so I missed that. I'm very, team oriented from my sports playing days. I missed being on a team. I wanted to be on a team. Um, yeah, you pay royalties and franchise fees. Add those up. Those are still less than what I was paying for my website development annually for just one of the businesses I was running, right? So put it in context, yeah, I mean, it's not that much when you compare it to what you would be paying if you were doing things the right way, running a mom and pop business.
On your
So
own. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So I wanted to be on the back on the team, right? And it's a huge global team. So I love that.
That's
Um,
great. Hmm.
so back to the best practices, I guess. Yeah. Using all the resources that your franchisor gives you, right? Being consistent on that. Because again, ask yourself, why did you get into a franchise system? You're getting on a team. If you're not open to being on that team, then don't get into franchising, right?
Hmm.
Number one, best practice, right? Another one is making sure your business systems are in place before you open your first unit. And if you're someone that foresees, hey, I might possibly scale in the future, but you're not sure, set your systems up from the beginning so you have a smooth transition so you can scale and grow without having to rework everything later on.
Can you give
That's
a
probably,
little bit of an example what you mean by business systems? Because by the way, that's our language in the academy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you've been exposed to the academy, if you have taken any of our courses, whether it's Manage 1.0, Manage 2.0, the multi-unit leadership, or the franchisee program, we have this language and we separate the brand systems from the business systems. I mean that the brand systems are is what you're buying when you buy what you purchase the right to duplicate a brand. You get in the brand systems, the product or service that the brand has developed that people are willing to give you money, the service process to deliver that product or service, the image, everything that you see around, touch, smell, sit on, experience, from the logo, the furniture, the lobbies, the floors, all the image, uniforms, everything of that. And then, of course, the marketing, if you are paying a marketing fee. But she's mentioned business systems. So, what would you consider business systems, Amanda, for the people that do not have not been in our world of the at the academy?
Yeah, so just thinking back, like when I opened my first Anytime Fitness, gosh, I lacked business systems, but man, things could have went smoother, been easier if I was, had an even stronger side on the business systems. And that's with me having a double major, a bachelor's and master's and having prior business experience. So I had things in place, but I don't know. For me, let's say those were basic to start. And I improved them over time and stuff, but I really, really dug deep with the American Franchise Academy this last year. And business system wise, I mean, my charter's better, my mission, vision, values are better, and we can tie that back to everything we do within the company with the team. Our dashboards, our reporting is better, it's more visible to employees. Um, Everything from, I mean, going back to the tenets, the success tenets, I consider all those business systems.
What
Our
about
new
the
unit.
employee? What about the employee life cycle, right? How to recruit, interview, hire, onboard, train, motivate, discipline, terminate, right? All of the like things that you do your when you have one unit, you do it yourself. But the moment that you have to delegate that to someone else, if you don't have it in writing, right? That's, and I think that's part of what's helped you, in the scaling part, all of the employee life cycle processes.
Yeah, definitely. Getting a lot that was up here on paper and into those business systems so I can delegate. I still have a lot to get out of my head, and that's still more time this summer and early fall. But I mean, gosh, even the local store marketing, having a strategic plan and turning it into an action plan for, unit managers, for instance. Like we weren't doing that in the future. Yeah, we had a marketing plan, but we didn't break it down to every little action, to make, and then follow up on it. So there's a lot of things, even like we have the troubleshooting guide for critical drivers. Like I mentioned that just a little bit ago. Like I learned a lot of that just breaking down successful clubs, and clubs that are, not so successful. But having that knowledge up here, I was able to better craft like a critical driver list so and put it in terms that my team can understand and move those KPIs, right? So I mean, business systems mean a lot. It could mean like bettering your weekly meetings, structuring your weekly meetings better and consistently. It could mean having a enterprise level dashboard where you can see all of your units, financials and KPIs. Um, my creating the management manual I did in the command program with American Franchise Academy that brought in like my policies, my processes, procedures all into one place And then we house that in our Google Drive for our team. So there's just so many good positive things I've done to move and better the business systems from what I was doing and elevate them really to, as you say, Jedi level, right? From basic to help me scale. So,
Yeah, you
and
know
a
what's
lot of that.
interesting? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say a lot of those things were small things I had questions on, and I was heading in that direction, but not to the level I needed, or the level I guess I could have got away with what I was doing, right? But everything I do, I want to get to Jedi level, right? So to get there, yeah, they also got to get moved. You got to move the needle on all your business systems and better them.
Yeah, and this is knowledge that knowing you and your personality, you would eventually gotten there, but it would have taken you a lot of time of, figuring things out. Oh, I do need to have an interview form. Then you would have created that. Maybe that would have been 6 months down the road. And then you said, oh, I need to have a salary strategy, I guess. But maybe you would have thought about that in a year and a half from now. Like these are the things that we share are things that successful multi-unit long-term franchisees have figured it out that we are now that you were able to get it in a year, right? And being able to not have to wait till you the learning curve and experience to figure it out. And sometimes franchisees never completely get to where the level that you are at now. And so that thing that has made the big difference, which now why excites you, why you were able to or more than double your units in a year, and now you totally think of, hey, more like it's no big deal, and so having that it's really great. So now now we know that you're gonna go to 22 units, which is at least that's the plan that you are committed to for now. Have you ever, like let's go and wrap this up a little bit. Have you ever thought about going multi-brand? Because I know you are, because at some point in time you're going to reach where you can't grow anymore. Have you ever thought about potentially exploring a different brand and getting a different business?
Yeah, so you put that bug in my ear about being a mumbo. Um, I've thought about it. I mean, I looked at some things. I did have some people reach out about other brands to me and stuff. I looked at them, but nothing I'm passionate about doing. If I don't do something that I'm passionate about, I'm probably not going to be successful. I feel like that's a key. I mean, and that's my viewpoint because I'm involved with everything with the business. I get people invest into things and aren't connected and don't need that passion. I'm not one of those people. So if I do something, it'd have to be in a category or industry where I am passionate about it, right? I'm not just going to do something just for money because it's just not fun.
I love that
Um,
about you. I love that about
yeah,
you that whatever you do, you're going to have fun. It's going to be passionate about it. And you're open to the possibility, but you're not going to make a move into another brand unless is the time is right, is the right brand. And right now you're having fun with your own brand anyways, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd say like right now, probably not because I don't want the extra stress or to be strung out between different industries. But I'll leave the doors open. Again, it just depends. Hey, how are things going? How am I feeling? Um, do I need to add any other gyms in my life? No, I don't. Do I want to keep challenging myself and growing? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So,
And one of the things that, for us, the academy, the goal is to go multi-unit so that you can achieve time and financial freedom, right? That is our goal. Like the reason we say we want to really encourage and motivate and inspire as many franchises as we can to go from a one unit job to a multi-unit enterprise so that you can achieve that freedom and that on time and money. Because once you reach that, I mean, once you get to a point where you have enough money, everything else is just extra but not really needed, right? uh and one of the things that I celebrate and I get super happy about is when I hear people go on vacation or they're pursuing their passions and the interests. One of our franchisees, I found out there are full-time now. I think is it basketball coaching? No, I think it's volleyball coaching. I forgot what it was, but some sport with his daughters. And when he told me that, I was like, that is just amazing because when I first met him, when he joined the program, he was an employee in a finance world, providing loans to franchisees. And from there to now, he's doing, he loves the business that he has. He's a significant multi-unit, over 20 units now. But now he spends his time doing his passion. So with that, Amanda, uh, now you have passions. What are your passions? And rather than have another brand, where were you gonna spend, the time and that you have that as with the freedom as you continue to get more of it?
Yeah, yeah. So, I spend a ton of time with my fur babies. I have three of them. So, two golden doodles and the Pomeranian. I'm very passionate about animals and nature, so I enjoy that, right? I also love to travel. I'd like to increase my travel a little bit, but the downside of that is I leave the fur babies, so that don't really go together. But so strategic scheduling, I guess, right? And then something else I've come to like a lot is sailing. So I have a Hobie 16 and a Hobie 14 sailboat. Um, I enjoy that. And then I've got my feet wet sailing some larger sailboats as well. So I want to continue that and kind of keep trying some, I'd love to sail the Great Lakes up here in Michigan. So I might make that happen next month. Other things I enjoy, obviously, I love fitness. Self-care. I'm really excited about us putting the recovery elements in the gym with the Normatec compression boots and mechanical massage with HyperAce. Those tools are awesome for self-care. So I'm really excited about us stepping into that as well because it fits, my personal stuff too.
Mm.
So I want to do things that make me feel good, right? So it could be compression therapy, or it could be just foam rolling in the gym, after your workout. So
I
yeah, so hobby wise, that's what I do. I've also picked up, went back to a childhood hobby recently, doing some Legos, and I found that building things is a really, really calming, and stress relieving activity. So I picked that up from my friends over at Bricks and Minifigs that I've met in the American Franchise Academy as well. So been doing some of that.
I love it. I love how, and the fact that you can actually tell me the things that you want to spend your time on and enjoy your life with. It's awesome because sometimes people are so into their job that they don't know what they like or what they want, that, that gets them just stuck working there all the time. And the fact that you have those special passions and special loves, I think it's amazing. So, well, I mean, what can I say, Amanda? Anything that you want to say before we end this amazing conversation that you want to share with the people that are listening to it?
Yeah, well, I'm just super appreciative of you, your team, and everything that you guys do. I know what you guys help, me gain a lot of confidence, organize, some thoughts in my head and fill in some of the gaps and stuff I had, to strengthen like my business systems. And it's really allowed me to scale and meet some goals I had, right? So I couldn't still be competitive and a lifelong learner and while I'm on a large, global team. So I'm just really appreciative of all the hard work you guys do to help us. Um, so that means a lot. You guys just, it's your dream. You're doing your dream with the American Franchise Academy and you're helping all of us. So I'm appreciative of you guys.
Thank you very much, Amanda. I really appreciate it. You know what? And it is because of, people like you, the seeing that, that what we're doing and teaching and sharing doesn't go to waste. Like you really are grabbing these concepts like many of our commanders and implementing them in your business. And it's changing your life, changing your business, changing your people's lives. And for me, that's the energy and that fuel that I need to just keep going at this process. And I love it too. And I love it because of people like you. So with that being said, thank you very much for spending the time with me. And for those of you that are watching this conversation, thank you for coming all the way to the end. And let's just all wish Miss Amanda to sail into the sunset in her journey as a multi-unit franchisee, and that she achieves all the goals that she has set for herself. So, with that, thank you for joining me on this franchisee wisdom session and podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.